Hi, hello, welcome to Voracious podcast. My name is Keval Vora, and so today we've got a great guest. We've got Angshuman Ghosh. He is the director of your favorite stuff, that is Kaksha 11, that is Huck's Single, that is Wake and Bake, Most Interesting Person in the Room, Don't Tell Amma, Improv All Stars, Comic Stan, Ladies Up, and just the list goes on. He also directed Coke Studio, by the way. So today in this episode we talk about comedy, music, and just so much more. I request you to hang around. You'll have a good time. And also, if you're not into the geeky stuff which I'm talking about, you can still have a good insights about the favorite stuff which you like, which I just spoke about. Okay, yeah, give it a listen. Also, please wear earphones or headphones because this is on Zoom, right? So the audio quality might not be the best, but you'll have a good time. Yeah. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Cue music. Okay, so three, two, one. All right. Hello, sir. How are you doing?
Hi
It's a very
there.
WhatsApp conversation.
Hi. Hi, how are you doing?
Yeah. Okay. So to everyone who doesn't know the Angshuman Ghosh, actually title में लिखा तो होगा ही कि director of Success है, but still I'll read the resume. It's quite a bit long. You directed Coke Studio, you directed MTV Unplugged, you directed Huck's Single. That's one of the biggest popular things on in Earth right now. And there's Improvisers, Improv All Stars, Kaksha 11, Comedians of the World, Comic Sans Season 1, One Mic Stand, Don't Tell Amma, Rohan Joshi Wake and Bake, which is also very funny. Ladies Up, and now the newest thing is coming out is Most Interesting Person in the Room. Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so you got into this, but how long have you been in this? Like 12 years, right?
Yeah, I'm on my 13th year, I think, or 14th. Yeah, 13th year. Yeah,
Wow.
14th year. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
It's,
great. Okay, yes.
no, nothing.
But okay, so I noticed that you majorly do non-fiction. Why
Yes.
is that?
That's a very good question. When I went to film school, actually, I was trained as a director and I worked as a director, but I tried a lot of different things. And I used to also do radio and I also used to do television. And, I studied a little bit of multi-camera and we worked on, sketch comedy. We worked on all kinds of different projects. And I did fiction. And obviously, every director wants to be a fiction director. And and I loved, actually, I think it came from I love shooting music, and I loved, I loved working with musicians, and shooting music kind of came naturally to me. And when I started doing it, it just kind of grew from there. And I used to work in kids television. I've worked in documentary films, and I started off with
Wow.
documentary filmmakers. So I actually, so I think it all kind of, stems from documentaries and kind of wanting to do that kind of work. Not saying no that I
Yes.
don't want to do fiction ever. It's just that the path that I've been on for the last, decade or so has been nonfiction, and it's been exciting and it's been great. So I've not,
But
felt the
you
need to
also
go in
have
that
a
direction.
great chance to do fiction. I mean, every comic is writing, and also you are with OML, right? So every comic is almost just paired to OML, and every comic is writing their own shows. Have you ever
Yeah.
tried with that?
I
चाचा
actually
विधायक
don't.
चाचा
I
विधायक क्यों
actually
डायरेक्ट
don't.
नहीं किया वो प्रॉब्लम है
Nay. So I mean, it's actually. I mean, I don't actually work for OML. I actually freelance with them, and I've actually known them and worked with them for over, since they began, since
Oh,
they
okay.
started. Yeah. So I've kind of had many relationships with them over many years, and so they're very kind and they keep calling me for jobs, and they trust me with their marquee projects, which is really exciting. And we've kind of developed an awesome rhythm and how we work over the years. So that being said, like uh, uh, it's like Chacha Vidayak and things like that. I didn't do Chacha Vidayak. That's Zakir's baby that Zakir worked on, and Zakir had a lovely team that kind of worked on it with him. I pretty much with most of the comedians do a lot of non-fiction work. I mean, they hire me and then they get me to work with them on their non-fiction work and their stand-up work. Um, because
Yeah,
they're
that's
live.
that.
They run like live shows. We shoot them in 2 hours or 3 hours, however long the show is. With Zakir Bhai, they tend to be slightly longer shows, but
Yes.
that's what's exciting. That's what's exciting. We get very lovely long shows with him, and his audience is always hooked. And fans are like on every single word. They are living and breathing on every single word, and that
Exactly.
chemistry and energy is really exciting to see.
I
But
mean,
actually,
the crowd goes wild whenever he says something.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he is a master of his craft, and over the years, I was very privileged. I'll give you a little actually insight, probably tidbit that I probably shouldn't share. My Hindi is
Okay.
not my Hindi is not the best. I'm Bengali, so and I've
Right.
grown up speaking more Bengali and more English than I have spoken Hindi. So when I moved to Bombay, I actually moved to Bombay only about 10 years ago.
Hmm.
And when I first started working, my Hindi was very bad. So when we actually made Haq Se Single, and that was Zakir Bhai's first comedy special. That was also my first taping of a comedy special. I had never done a
Hmm.
comedy stand-up before, and um, you know,
Hmm.
it was very exciting because we didn't expect. Uh, I didn't at least expect my first comedy special to be with Zakir Bhai and with such a lovely large audience. I mean, there were 10,000 people who showed up. We shot it over 2 days.
Also, you shot
In
it twice.
Yeah, yeah. So most comedy specials actually get shot twice. What we end up
Oh,
doing
really?
is, yeah, yeah. So you do two shows of the same performance, almost the same performance, of two shows, two different audiences. So then, when we're cutting it, when we're editing it together with comedians, we have more options basically. Sometimes
Okay, so
certain
you.
jokes land better, or certain jokes have a bigger laugh in certain shows, so we end up picking up, the best of from these two shows, and that's the edit that everyone ends up
Goes
getting to
ahead.
see.
But also, you can do it like Adam Sandler does it. If you saw his the new special 100% Fresh,
Yeah,
he shot it every time he toured. So always a new show. And every song, there's a new different arena which he's touring in. So if a good song is doing good on this arena, so he plays with that and something else on that. So one show
absolutely,
just comprised of different material.
absolutely. And I think more recently, Neville Shah directed
Karan Gill special.
Kanan Gill's and why am I forget Naveen Richards special? Sorry.
Oh yes, a new one
And
coming. Yeah.
yeah. So Naveen Richards special I think came out already, and it's a
Hmm.
lovely special. And essentially, they also ended up doing that, but they ended up actually shooting more shows, and taking some acts from different shows, and then putting that whole special together. So it was a nice format, and it was a nice exploration of that. Adam Sandler obviously is a
Big
comedic
thing, yeah.
genius, and he's done amazing work. And over decades and decades, he's done amazing work. And for him to have gone out, for I think I mean, for him to go out and shoot every single gig, and to be able to present something new from every single gig is a very cool thing. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, it's a very cool thing. But there's also the financial side of things, the cost of
I was
putting
coming
that
to that. The
together.
budget increases too much.
Yeah, yeah. So if you're going to be doing a shoot like that, and if you're going to be doing multiple shows like that, you'll have to have a very strong core team that shoots multiple shows, and you're trying to then maintain an aesthetic. You're trying to maintain a standard throughout all of the shows, so they all look in the same family, and then they cut really nicely together. And or it's like you embrace that they're very different venues, they're very different spaces, they're very different audiences, and as a
Hmm.
result, a very different performance. So then you embrace that, and then you kind of visually do something slightly different. You have a slightly different treatment. You frame differently, or you have different backgrounds, or you have different colors in your frames. And now what we're finding is like, even I mean, stand up in India is very new. Stand up comedy is very new in India relatively
But it's
compared
growing
to other
exponentially
parts of the
now.
world. Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. I mean, thankfully, I have a job and a career, and all those lovely
Yeah.
credits that you mentioned, are as a result of that, and we're very grateful for that. But what we're seeing now is like more and more people, comedians, directors, creatives, kind of play with the form of Indian stand-up. In the first
Exactly,
few years,
right.
everyone was trying to be safe, and you shoot it in a very safe way. You present your content in a very safe way. We're seeing that sort of evolve, and people just starting to play with their formats. And I'm lucky to work with some of the best comedians in India who
Exactly.
are doing that in their own way. So I'm very glad for that.
Yeah, I once I've performed stand up twice, and the first one which I did was in school. It was a camp, and I performed there, and it was Kenny's act. Complete Kenny's act, pura rectified I did, and I came in second. Kind of bombed, but still came in second. So Kenny and Zakir and I don't know why I'm taking first names, but Kenny Sebastian and Zakir Khan and Tanmay Bhatt and everyone, these guys just started out, and now it's just the second generation has already come in because of Comic Star now. Now I think so
Yes,
season 3
absolutely.
we are, so it'll grow more.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's huge. There's huge potential, and it's a storytelling format. I think that's very natural to Indians, to all of us. No matter which part of India we're from, what language we're doing our special in. We have a history of telling stories. We have a history of folklore. And this all kind of stems from that, where we've, as a culture, as a country, we've kind of naturally gravitated towards this art form, and it's easy to do as well.
Exactly.
Anyone can write and say something nowadays. It's very easy to broadcast yourself, broadcast your views. It's very easy to go and do a show and bomb, but then still get up and then do another show after that, because that's actually a very important thing to do.
Hmm.
That's how you learn. Are you planning on? Are you doing online shows now? How do you, as
I
like
mean, actually, I'm not a professional stand-up comic. I wanted to try. I recently wrote some funny material which I'm right now confident to go up on stage with, but now though there's this chance is gone. I recently messaged Akash Mehta about this. I said, "Ki I have some material now. Do you think the stages would open after a month or two?" He says, "No chance. Until the end of the year, कुछ नहीं होगा.
Yeah.
Open mics तो गए."
So yeah. Yeah,
So
that's the unfortunate reality of where we are, I guess.
let's see. But right now we also have multiple things to do because right now everyone's free, so everyone's just has this urge to broadcast their opinions, and some people are doing the right thing, and some people are not. And the people who are doing right way are just kind of exponentially growing bigger, and everyone is a social media influencer now. So the opportunities are growing, but the live shows again. I wanted to ask this question now. After this, the doctors also the recently I had a talk with a doctor that he says the world will never be the same, and it's just tough now. How do you think now how the comedy and music scene will evolve?
That's a very good
Like,
question. We will have to learn that along the way, and because no one's kind of experienced this on
sure
the whole
now.
planet. I don't think, yeah, no one's experienced it. But people, it's a time to then innovate in that sense. If we're living with this reality where we're not seeing live performances, we're not seeing live acts, we're not seeing staged concerts or stand up, live stand up, then
Mm,
something will have to evolve. And
exactly.
somewhere, everyone will have to evolve and figure out something new to be able to do in the next 2 or 3 years. And eventually it will come back. It will change the way, we do everything in life, absolutely.
Yeah, I
But it
mean,
will come back.
hopefully, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, there are so many vaccines coming out now, and I think so. 1 year, we'll get the proper vaccine, and things will go back to normal.
Yeah, I think, at this point, I don't, very honestly, if I had to share my thoughts on this particular thing, I
Yeah,
don't think we are, you know, that's the hope that I think the world and, the media is saying that, oh, yes, in 18 months, we'll get a vaccine, in 12 months, we'll have a
yeah,
vaccine, end of this year, we'll have a vaccine. History has shown that vaccines take time.
of
Getting a
course.
vaccine done takes time. There's a lot of trial and error with vaccines. It's amazing that, say this only happened, say SARS had happened, or this was something as contained as SARS. In only a few countries, but it was as, I guess lethal, or as concentrated. Um, there was only one country, so obviously there wasn't enough research into vaccines and things like that was happening as fast. Now you got the whole world. Pretty much every single country has some sort of
Yes.
vaccine research program in progress. So we would hope that the human race is smart and is amazing.
It evolves
and can
faster.
figure this out. It evolves fast. I mean, it figures out a solution to this fast. But the realist in me would say that never say never, and just now we just have to take it one step at a time and see what the future holds.
All we can do is hope right now.
Yeah. Hope, innovate, find new ways to tell stories. If that's what your thing is, find new ways to live, find new ways to be humans with each other. Because we're living through technology at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, so I had this question, and this is the question which I was dying to ask you. What happens on the set? What does a director do on something like a special? Like, do you tamper with the set?
Yes, in fact, there's a lot of work that goes on that that people maybe don't realize, is that we usually start work on a special maybe about. The initial first round conversations will probably start about 3 months before we do go to the taping. Maybe sometimes 4 months, sometimes 6 months, depending on the artist.
So you
and how they like to
don't
work.
get to tour with the act.
No, we don't have to. But what we end up doing is, I go to a lot of shows, so we see at least 1 or 2 shows live, and then we try and see. We get a bunch of recordings from a bunch of different shows. So if say I'm working with one of the comedians for say 6 months, they are then over those 6 months also sharing their acts with me. They're sharing the progress that they're making, and I'm seeing them sculpt their content, because by the time they reach taping, like I know that Kenny something, he just dropped his trailer, and he wrote that in his trailer where he took 3 years to get to this point where he felt like, okay, this material is good enough for him to want to share as a special. It's the same thing for all of these guys. They do hundreds of shows. All over the world, just to hone it and see how it works. And when they're performing these shows all around the world, they're getting a perspective of the audiences as well, all around the world. So they're able to even shape their content a little bit so it speaks to more and more people in certain ways, or certain jokes or certain setups are built around certain situations which are relatable to their societies as well. And that's really what they're learning when they're going to a Middle East. It's a different audience. It's an Indian audience with a different audience. In India, it's a different audience. Across India, in different regions of India, they react to things differently. Yeah. So even for the comedians, it's actually they spend a lot of time trying to figure out, hey, where am I going to shoot this? Like, which city do I want to do this in? Why do I want to do it in this city? And
well, it basically stems out where people are evolved enough to understand this, and also like the person, like the artist in their city. Like, people generally prefer Bangalore and Mumbai because everyone's in comedy now over here, and these guys have great crowds.
Yeah, they have a very evolved audience that's excited about comedy. They're accepting of a lot of forms of comedy, so they kind of, and because I think these 2 cities, Delhi as well, actually, to
Delhi as well,
extent. Yeah. They have great audiences in that sense that appreciate all kind of different genres of comedy, different genres of stand-up. So it's kind of really cool to see that kind of happening, and the smaller cities as well. I had gone with Zakir for Kaksha 11. We had gone to, I've forgotten which city, but it was a small city. It was actually a very small city, but it's Zakir Bhai, and because it's Zakir Bhai, it's he had 2,000 people there, and
wow,
and he was doing some. It's Zakir Bhai, so. Everywhere he goes, he sells out. So it's incredible actually to see that the support that he has. Yeah,
2,000 people is a big deal.
But it was a small city, but it was like the talk of the town. It was a big deal in the city, and it was a great sort of I got to see him with this audience as well, and seeing how these audiences have grown everywhere. and it doesn't really matter now whether it's Delhi, Bombay, or Bangalore. Any city is sort of prepared for, or
good stand-up.
engaged with comedy. Yeah, once could stand up. Yeah.
So you don't tell the guy, the comedian, to just change the order or whatever it is. Just this joke is not working or whatever. You don't advise that. The act is theirs. The viewing part is yours.
I think it works differently with different different comedians. So I've kind of had different relationships with different comedians where maybe I'll contribute more on the editorial from the post standpoint. Maybe I'll contribute more on the pre standpoint. But for the most part, as my job and the way I look at myself is I'm there to service the comedian's vision or the musician's vision. I'm there to service, that. So I'm trying to understand that the best I can, and then be able to, present that in a way that's exciting or, new or is larger than life or, and with my kind of storytelling then comes into the set design and, how we shoot it, why we're shooting it, what certain angles do we want, and, those kind of the language, the grammar of shooting. So those kind of things is where my sort of, more emphasis comes. But again, it's like, all these guys are so different. They have such different personalities. They have such different styles that you work with them differently. And, I've been blessed to be able to work with all of them because I'm also able to understand who they are and make them tick. And then, maybe work with them in that way to be able to help them shape their thing. So it's always been sort of that kind of a relationship.
Exactly. But now, if, and I hope this doesn't happen, but if the jokes are not landing on the special day, just for some unfortunate reason, jokes are not landing, audience is not laughing. So what is the precaution matter in this one? Of course, you have the second special, but still, ऊपर नीचे थोड़ा तो हो गया ना. So third special, has there any been chance you have shot third one?
I have never shot a third one. No, we've all these specials that we've shot, we've always shot two. Mostly they've been shot on the same day. So that's something that we also try and do is, we spend a lot of time.
Minimize the cost.
Not even minimize the cost. It's also to keep the content fresh, to keep the comedian fresh, to have them kind of, go 2 days back to back. Certain artists can do it. And if that's what they want. I mean, in an ideal scenario, I'm sure every artist would want an extra day. One is a cost factor, and the second factor is that it's just from a continuity standpoint, from a shoot standpoint. If you've shot it both in one day, there are less issues maybe later. Less, costume. Okay, in this one the hair is slightly different. In this one maybe an earring is there or an earring is not there. In this one, this collar is ulta and this collar is straight. So these kind of little things we want to try and avoid. So we try and do it in one day. And if we are doing it over 2 days, then and the only person I think I've done over 2 days with is Zakir bhai, and that was on Haksai Single.
Right. Haksai Single actually it was some technical difficulty in the first shot, right? The first one which you shot.
Actually, I didn't shoot the first one. So he had done a special at, done a taping at least at, I've forgotten the name of the stadium, but it was a month before that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember us, I remember at least me getting a call saying that, hey, this is kind of interesting. And I was like, I've never done this before. Why not? I don't mind. I've never heard, actually at that point also, I'll be honest, I hadn't heard of Zakir's stand up because I'd seen only a couple of those AIB clips, and I think that was
those AIB clips which went viral.
Yeah, and I had seen the AIB and On Air with AIB. He had a few segments on Air with AIB which I really loved, but I didn't get a chance to really see him do his stand up. Him do his tell his stories. I consider Zakir a storyteller first, more than a stand-up comedian.
Exactly. Even Hasan Minhaj did the same thing, and after seeing Hasan Minhaj's thing, I realized Zakir Khan is not much of, he's a stand-up comic, but he does storytelling in a way which is funnier.
I mean, I don't know if it's funnier or not. I mean, it's just different. But I think what's interesting to note is when you've made this comparison is that Hassan Minhaj has a lot of visual support for his comedy. So there'll be graphics in the background. There will be certain camera moves. He will emphasize certain things. He'll do performance bits directly to the camera. He'll do steady cam moves with the camera. It's very choreographed in that sense. And Zakir, on the other hand, his choreography is his story. The way he tells his stories are so visual that you don't need that support. You're kind of with him and you're hanging on to every word because every word you can see in your head. It's very vivid. It's very clear. The feelings, the emotions, the spaces, the smells, everything is very clear. So that's a different kind of art form altogether, which is why he's a genius, is what it's because of that. Yeah, so they had shot some stuff a little bit earlier. There was some technical issues with it, so he couldn't use that material. And so we ended up, I was brought on board and, I think it was almost like a little bit more than a month later or less than a month later, we put on these 2 more shows over there. The same audience came back out. There was 5,000 a night. So we had 10,000 people, two nights. And, it was amazing. It was amazing to kind of see all of that unfold. Yeah. So it was very, very, very cool. And we spent actually a lot of time even, really great special. I mean, and then we spent about 2.5 months cutting it. It took a very long time to cut.
2.5 months cutting it? Oh, wow.
Yeah, we took 2.5 months cutting it.
I understand audience gave the ovation, audience gave the standing ovation, but did you have any idea Zakir Singh would blow up as much as it has? It is actually kind of #1 special still.
Yeah, I mean, that's a testament to Zakir's, art and his craft. He's been, at the top of his game for a bunch of years now, and it's just only getting better. I know that, he's worked on 5 more specials and 5 more ideas for specials. He workshopped them all before the lockdown. And I know that one he's completely ready with, that he's excited to kind of, be his next. I'm not sure which one it is, so I'm not going to say. And he'll, I'm sure he's going to be like, it'll be whatever it is. I mean, it's very cool. I mean, I at least didn't expect Zakir Singh to be as big as it became, but it's amazing that it did. Yeah. And it's amazing that people saw stand-up could be, presented like this also. I think it was one of the first times that we've seen Indian stand-up kind of being shot I know there have been shows and there's been, there's live shows that happen around the world. And, for decades, we've had comedians go around and do sketch shows and things like that. But I think this new form of comedy, I think that was like a really sort of standout specials for everybody.
Exactly, right. This thing on Comicstan, did you advise, like, I've seen this on other reality shows, okay? People, the directors are advising the judges to say the remarks like this and that and whatever it is. Do you do the same in Comicstan? Does this happen? Or it's completely...
No, it's pretty much all, like, I want to say like 90%, 90% what it is. It's the actual reaction that they give. But we can talk to them, yes. But we can't actually talk to the judges directly. And I'm a technical director on that job. So there's actually a creative head and a showrunner. Her name is Kriti Gogia.
Kriti Gogia.
And yeah, so it's kind of her baby. I'm there to help her kind of put this whole thing together from a, grammar standpoint, how it looks, the set, the lighting, sometimes into segments and, how maybe segments should be shot for comedic purposes or whatever it is. But I don't think otherwise, I don't really get into the content things of things. So, but we do talk to I can talk, she can talk to the anchors, I can talk to the anchors. And those are the only people that while we're taping the show, while the show's actually going on, and it's the same sort of thing, there's a live audience. The live audience comes, they come at maybe around 7 o'clock for an 8 o'clock taping. They'll stand, they'll enter, they'll get little voting machines. They come, they sit down. And once they're in and once we start the show, it's like we're running the show. We don't stop. Unless there's a major major technical issue, or there's any other kind of issues or safety issues or anything like that, then we stop and then we say, okay, let's do this. Let's cut and let's restart. Otherwise, once the live audience is in, we don't stop. So it's a 2-hour show after that point. So our communication with the judges is not really there unless we cut, unless there's a break. And what we end up doing is, say they didn't say the most amount of, I think the 10% of us telling judges to do stuff would be, hey, in this round, this line that you said, you didn't say it clearly enough and you ate up your words, or, you shouted it and then there was some technical problem with the mic or something like that. Can you say that line again? This is what that line was. Do it. Yeah. So we'll do little things.
Normal stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the complete remarks, because I went on a dance reality show and I was like very surprised because the director is just saying words into the judge's mouth and he's repeating it. That's all it should happen.
Yeah, so in a lot of general entertainment shows, they call GEC shows, prime time Hindi reality shows. There will be a creative director or an executive creative director. Then there will be a technical director, and then there'll be a script writer and a writer as well. So sometimes the anchors have writers in their ears who are, as the show is going on, as they want them to say a reaction in a certain way, they'll give them the line exactly in their ear and they will say that. They want the judges to prod certain things. They want the judges to, give bigger reactions. They do all of those things with the judges, and, they have that infrastructure to kind of support the judges and the singers when they, the anchors when they're on stage.
Mm-hmm. You ever deal with standards and practices?
Absolutely, all the time.
Oh yeah. So do they advise you to do cut this or do that and whatever it is?
Yeah, usually there are 2 times or 3 times that usually that process ends up happening. It happens at your initial stage. So when you're in concept development or in your show flow development, before you even start writing the episodes, before you start scripting the anchor dialogues and the structure and building or doing a script. What we end up doing is the script will get written, then that will be our second round of S&P. So if there's anything really major, they will flag it there. Then finally, when the show is cut, and usually they spend about maybe 6 months cutting the show. So we usually tape in between September and October. At least the last few years, we've been taping between September and October and shooting our finale in January. And but it releases only in August. So they'll spend 6 months on, so they'll spend some time, on all of those things. And so those things get addressed in the edits.
So is season 3 done?
No, season 3, unfortunately, is on hold till, the pandemic. Unfortunately, all shoots in Bombay are across the country are, temporarily on hold.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yes.
So now, how does the process work? Does the artist approach you, or does OML approach you, or Amazon approach you? What happens?
It all works differently. I think at this point, because I'm friends with a lot of these guys, and we've worked also closely over now many years. Approach me directly. Otherwise, OML, a lot of the time, yes, OML has really championed me over the years, so I'm really appreciative for that. And sometimes Amazon will say, hey, do this, or another company will say, hey, can you come and do this, or hey, we want that person. So it's kind of like it's the same thing. We get cast. I get cast into a role, so I have to do the same things that it takes to get cast into a role, which is study, do homework, research, do a treatment, do a presentation, do some planning, then get into con calls and discussions with people, then work on designs and ideation and all of that stuff, then work on con. So it's kind of like you are constantly also pitching yourself. But it's a mixed bag, really. I mean, I've been fortunate enough that these guys have liked working with me for the last few years. So now they just call, and they at least know that they'll get something maybe good. I'll be able to do their story justice as much as possible, and make sure that everything runs smoothly. Yeah.
Well, so far so good. All of them are very good.
So far so good. Yes. Thank you.
Now again,
thank you.
if you get a a bad, shitty special, how do you say no?
I've not actually gotten a shitty special. I don't think I've gotten a shitty special as well.
Well,
yet.
wow.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I've never thought of them as shitty, and I don't look at it as. It's
No, I mean, see, now, if you don't laugh at the special and it doesn't work for you, would you want to direct it?
That's another very, very good question. And because I shot a lot of music, and I shot so many years of MTV Unplugged and the few seasons of Coke Studio.
Coke Studio is a good thing.
Worked with all kinds of musicians, all kinds of music, all kinds of genres of music. Some of them maybe I don't connect with at all, but I still try and find something in it which I latch onto, even if I can't find a way of connecting with their actual art. So I will find something else in their piece that really speaks to me, and then I will kind of start with that as like my sort of creative starting point, my start this journey with them, and then build around.
Right.
So it's kind of like you can always find something exciting about any of these things. There's always something exciting. So I can't really say that I like, which is where, like, when it comes to their material, yeah, some of them I find funny, some of them I don't find funny, absolutely.
Right.
But there's a process, we've gone about it in a certain way, we've designed it in a certain way, we've worked on some other things, maybe we've worked on some editorial things, or maybe we've shot it on new cameras or on new tech, or we've tried new angles with certain things, and we want to see how that comes. So I find things like that kind of like keep me excited and keep me kind of engaged with the project, and then and I put my love and heart and soul into it.
Right. Oh, great! Wow, great! Congratulations for this.
Yeah. Thanks.
Also, now the first thing which you did was Coke Studio, right?
Yes.
The first big thing.
Yes.
How did that work out? Like, how did the entry to Coke Studio come? Before that, I'm guessing you were an editor and technical director. I saw there was a Coke thing which you did on Netflix.
Yes. So I mean, actually, I've done if I have to rewind a lot to tell the story, and it might be really long-winded. So bear with me.
Okay. Yeah, it works.
But when I first started out, I think my career, when I was in film school, I made a film and it wasn't very successful. I mean, I kind of messed it up because I was a kid. And
same. I mean, I'm in film school all the time is messing up.
Yeah, but that's the idea of it, right? You make those mistakes. So I didn't do the best film in the world, and I realized that maybe I was a bad editor. So let me learn how to edit and let me learn how to tell stories in an edit table, because that's where it's really important. So I would work as an assistant editor, I would work as an editor, I would work as a previs guy, I would work as a second unit cinematographer, so I would shoot on 16mm film, on 35mm film for music videos and things like that. This is in the US. Or I would go and work with an Academy Award winning documentary filmmaker, and I would go and shoot some stuff for them, or I would would have, so all kinds of, or Emmy Award winning, so very random people. And I was very young, so I was in my early 20s, so 21, I think I was 21, 22 I was. No, I wasn't even 22, sorry, I was 21. And basically that was my kind of film school 2.0, where it was the real world, and I was being thrown from different kinds of projects, doing different kinds of jobs, and learning every little bit of the craft as much as I could learn from all of these people. Be a sponge. And when I moved to Bombay, my first job was with a Cartoon Network in Pogo. I used to work at Turner Broadcasting, and I used to do a lot of post-production over there, and because I had a background in it and I understood it, and I'd worked on a couple of feature films. By the time I was 23, I'd already worked on, I think, 2 features. One which was shortlisted for an Academy Award, which I was an assistant on, and one which was, I think went somewhere else. I'm not sure where. I think Toronto or something like that.
Nice.
And So I took all of these experiences and I was trying to shape it. And, my next thing was to work professionally as an editor, understand India, understand working in Bombay. My very close friend from college, actually, my senior from college, he also happened to live in Bombay. He was the only person I knew in Bombay. He's a really good director. His name is Nishan Nayak. He was hired to do season 2 of Coke Studio as a creative director and sort of like the showrunner. So he had brought me on board, and I just quit my job. So he had brought me on board to be a segment director. So I would do all the promos behind the scenes. I would do, we would shoot artist profiles and things like that. So season 2, we were Madari, we're seeing the song being made in front of us. We're hanging out with all those artists.
Madari is yours? You directed?
As in, all the content for it. All the the stories with them, the behind the scenes, the promos, the profiles, all of that stuff. And the show was directed by Nishan Nayak, and there was Ashim Sen who was the technical director on that season of the show.
Sure, yeah.
And now, so as a result of that, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Fully long-winded.
Sorry.
So we ended up, I ended up doing that for a little while, and MTV kind of met me and stuff like that. And one day, my friend Nishant was like, "Hey, I'm having clashes and things like that. I'm having date clashes between shoots and things like that. So you come and shoot this Coke Studio episode. You be the director on the Coke Studio episode." And I was like, I had not done multi-camera professionally, so it was my first multi-camera job as a director was on Coke Studio, and then I ended up doing the rest of the episodes for season 4. Season 4. I ended up doing the rest of the episodes. And then, obviously developed that relationship with MTV, and MTV said, "Hey, do an MTV Unplugged with us."
Right.
So I said, "I'd love to."
Of course.
To send, so broadcast in India, I'm going to give you a little history now, randomly. Random history. So broadcast in the early 2000s, whenever television came to India, Indian television wasn't broadcast from India. The satellite dishes and things like that weren't based in India. They were all based outside of India. So either Singapore or Hong Kong. And only in the late 90s or the early 2000s did ZTV put up their own dish and they started broadcasting from Delhi or something along those lines. I mean, Doordarshan had, but Doordarshan is public. So private television in India was all broadcast from Singapore or Hong Kong. So people would fly with tapes of all your favorite shows from that time, Digi-Beta tapes they were called, or Betacam SPs or Betacam tapes. And there were these massive tapes. Each tape would cost, I think, 3,000 rupees, 3,000 to 6,000 rupees each tape. And that'd be one show or one episode, 1 hour ka tape, 20 minutes ka tape. And someone would physically fly with those tapes to Hong Kong, physically fly with those tapes to Singapore, and then they would broadcast from there.
Oh, wow.
So
too much.
So that was a very different time. So when I joined Cartoon Network and Pogo and CNN and HBO, they were still doing this practice. This was 2010, and they were still doing this practice. So part of my job was, and I was 24 years old at that time, and already I had a team of I think about 8 or 10, which is my post-production team, and we were trying to figure out how we could stop doing this. So I think we were one of the first companies in India where we started doing digital file transfers. So we would do our episodes, 30-minute episode of MAD or FAQ, and then we would put it to sync for 2 days, and it would go into a little folder, like a deep dive kind of folder. There was a technology back then, which I don't have, Aspera is what it was called. And it would sync in Hong Kong, and then these guys would be able to download the episode. It would take 2 days, and this is a 2 GB file or a 6 GB file. Anywhere from 2 to 6 GB would take 2 days to upload and download. Our internet bandwidth was very slow. But we started doing that. We started doing that regularly, and so we were one of the first people to change over from doing that, from using tapes and as companies spending so much money on tapes and things like that. We went to, I think, before a lot of other people, and so that was kind of my first sort of start, my company was actually pretty, and I started, I built new studios for them, post-production studios when we had moved offices, in Bombay itself. So I had to, work with designers to build a high definition post-production studio for sound and video. Which back then, again, this is 2012, or it was only 2 years after that, so it was about 2012. So we went from standard definition. So I kind of transitioned. So I'm actually I'm a geek with technology. I love technology. I love gear. I
me
love
too.
equipment.
I was doing engineering before this.
And I love trying to figure out how. Oh, very cool, very cool. I mean, I kind of wish I did engineering, and when I went to film school, I thought they would do arts and everything. But by the time I finished film school, I realized that all I learned was chemistry, physics, and engineering. That's pretty much the basics of what I learned, because that's all you're dealing with at that time. So that was
That happened.
Working in kids TV and working as that happened in my life.
Anyways, on that note, I think so we've chatted a good amount of time, and I hope it was good for you.
Yeah. Yes, man. Thank you so much for having me, and it was a real pleasure coming and chatting with you.
Thank you so much.
A chance to edit most of this, so there's no rambling. Please don't call me sir. My name is Angshuman. I'm not that old also. But I really appreciate it. And I really, I'm glad there are fans of stand-up comedy, and I'm glad there are people
big time
interested in learning a little bit about the craft of.
I also wanted to tell you,
and I hope that more and more people do. And
most interesting person drops on 29th, right?
Yes, most interesting person drops on the 29th of May.
This month. Yeah. All the best, sir.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being
this
here.
Month. Yes. Thank you.